Hey, everybody.
Hey
Welcome
everybody.
to the show. And all you people out there, you groovy cats and kittens. It's like, something that's like was when, that was the Tiger King. Did you see that
Tiger King.
documentary?
Nah, I didn't end up watching it, but I know all
That
about
was
it.
the biggest thing
I
during this
know.
whole pandemic.
I
Everybody like
didn't watch
watched it.
it.
It was crazy. And now the biggest thing, of course, is the whole Trump saga, and his final show, which was on January 6th when they stormed the Capitol. That was a lot of fun.
His final show. Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah, I think they canceled it though. The show's been canceled.
Yeah.
So
You're
what do you mean?
fired.
You're fired. Anyway, so how you been, Jen?
I've been really good. Have you been, Ari?
I've been very good. Things are
Yeah.
going okay. We sort of muddling through this pandemic. But there's some stuff in the news we're going to cover today.
Uh
Where do you want to start?
so the first one I wanted to pull up, it's super light. I don't even really want to go over it too much, but it says the esports and gambling industries in 2021, popular games and continuing trends. And this is from news.uk or something.
Right.
But it's pretty much just a generic overview of the esports industry rise, just like everybody else has been talking about. And I wanted to bring it up almost as like I'm tired of people doing this all the time. But if you open it up, I can share my screen if you'd like.
I get
But they
it.
have a list of all of the popular games,
Right.
and they list them by prize pool. But that doesn't matter to businesses. Unless you're an actual esports organization, you don't care how much the prize pool is. You care about how many people are watching it or anything like that. So, specifically, since this is about um, esports and gambling, I was pretty surprised that they didn't list the games by like how much money is being put into it in the betting industry, like online or physical. And that's why I wanted to bring that up. I just think that whoever's making these like top 10 lists, specifically when they're talking about gambling and esports, they need to stop doing it by prize pool. That doesn't matter to any of them.
Well, I mean, the question is whether or not the online gambling sites that are doing esports now are willing to part with that data.
Yeah,
I
because it
mean,
doesn't matter to them. And it doesn't
well,
matter to the bettors, really.
what do you mean?
Like, if I'm betting on League of Legends, I don't care how much the prize pool is for the winner. I just care who wins or what like what's being taken and on the map and things like that.
Right, but like what I'm saying is that there's there's Luckbox, all these other companies.
Hmm.
They're not releasing how many people are betting on their platforms yet.
They're not releasing it.
Well, it wasn't obvious in that article.
Yeah.
That's wasn't that one of your complaints? I mean,
Yeah,
they're putting
exactly.
up the prize pools, but when you're
Yeah,
saying when
where's
you're
that
talking,
data?
yeah, well, when you're saying and talking about gambling, where's the data on how many people actually bet on that game or
Yeah,
in that
exactly.
match? It might be too early in development of esports betting for them to even release that kind of information. Because I
Mm.
can tell you for a fact that in the gambling side of things, in the gambling world, they do come out with monthly reports on they call it the handle, whatever the slot handle was
Mm.
for that casino, and slot handle, I think, and if there's anybody out there in the gambling world that would correct me, that you know, the slot handle is how much the casino brought in wagers and wet
Mm.
and betting, and that means on the slot machines, on the table games, and anything that that they had. Now there is data, at least the dollar value data on how much has been bet on real sports, on actual sports betting, and I think that's somewhere north of the $1 billion mark in the United
Mm.
States. So what you're saying is you wanted to know what the dollar value is of the esports betting,
Well, I don't even not that I necessarily want to know right
or
now, but
or how
these
many people are.
articles and these news outlets that are putting these ridiculous lists together only ever look at esports by like how much prize pools are for any event because they think that's where the money in esports is, and it's just
Well,
not
is
true.
that maybe that's they think that's where the money is, or is that all they have that they can report?
I don't know.
Because the truth of it is that like everything else in esports, I don't think anybody wants to know the actual facts.
Yeah, they just want to live in their
They want to live.
dream world.
They want to pump up the biggest, and the best information that they can put up. So by putting up these large prize pool lists of all the different various games, their belief, or the person writing this article's belief, is that that's going to attract more investors into the esport betting space. Oh, look at this prize pool. There must be a lot of money being bet on that. So,
Yeah.
but again, it's about all investors to do their due diligence before they invest in anything. And these articles, as I say all the time, are basically put out there as fluff, so that people can see, well, there's betting going on, and here are the prize pools. Whether or not they're going to report on how many people bet on those matches, or what the actual dollar amount was that was bet for those matches, is something they're not going to print. And the reason why they're not going to put that out there is because if it was, let's say, I don't know, Call of Duty or CSGO, let's say the numbers for CSGO are maybe, I don't know, $100 million, like in the last month. So all the betting on all the CSGO matches was $100 million. Now compare that to the actual Super Bowl, where it was like in the $1 billion mark. Does anybody is that going to attract an investor and say, hey, it was $100 million. It's not big enough numbers. It doesn't, it's not like it doesn't sound, an investor's going to go, well, there was $1 billion that was bet on the Super Bowl. I think I'm going to start investing in, I don't know, something to do with the NFL. Or,
definitely the Super Bowl, like advertisements, that's still one of the hottest things every year for advertisers.
Right. Well, I mean, listen, there's a lot of big companies out there. Every single time they make a move and they report on that move, their stock goes up. I watch it. Perfect example. The esports, esports entertainment group, Grant Johnson and that crowd. Every single time, he just announced that they made a partnership with the Baltimore Ravens.
I just saw that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So that took his stock up to about $13 last week. Now it's up at 15. I mean, 2 months ago it was at $7. And every single time that he reports on what happens, or they come out with a new article about them connecting with some new. Yeah. Today it's exactly at $15. And at one point it was up to $15.26. So it's been hovering around $15 now for weeks. But earlier in the day, it was at $16.61. At 9:30 a.m. It shot up, and then it dropped down like almost $1. It was even down at the lowest today at $14.79. But that stock actually doubled since last month. And the reason why it keeps going up is because they're making a lot of moves. One of the other things that he's doing is working with the New Jersey legislature to approve and make sure that esports betting is completely and 100% legal in New Jersey. And that
because now it's kind of like put into a box, right? There's only certain things you could bet on, and it's not open 100%.
Right, but is anybody going to tell anybody in the New Jersey legislature, or are they going to look back at the summertime? And I always bring this up in 2020 when the Call of Duty League, there was a complete obvious cheating match going on. And the whole thing was like you might as well had the World Wrestling League out there with, a fixed match.
Yeah.
So any slightest thing, it's like Bitcoin, for example. Somebody forgets their email, their login and password, or some guy loses $100 million or $10 million of Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin stock starts to go like that, because people look at it and say, why does that have any value if, in the summer of July of 2020, when no one could be in a local access network center, in a LAN center, okay, and you couldn't make sure that nobody was cheating, they did cheat. So why is it? How's that going to help the customer who's betting on that esport thing during a pandemic? What's the
solution, though?
Well, the solution is you're going to have to wait till after the pandemic. But I can tell you that the esports entertainment group will shoot up as soon as they can start having live esport tournaments. That is a point. So if you have some money laying around, it's probably a good investment to invest in that company because they're going to be he's been doing a lot of smart things.
Yeah.
So what are we doing next?
Well, it's a perfect segue into our next article, which is from the Esports Insider. It's this company called Geek. It's GEEIQ.
Mm-hmm.
And they just talk about what brands need when they're picking an esports partner. And pretty much what they do is they're, of course, like a data company, but they help brands identify their esports and gaming partnership strategies.
Right.
And I just wanted to go into it because I think it's good for everybody to know, all of our listeners. Esports obviously has been booming and people have been throwing money into it. And in this article, they talk about how companies just kind of like slap a logo on a jersey. You and I have talked about this before, but they go into saying really what's important is content creation, which I think I'm always saying too. I obviously agree with that.
Yeah, you always bring up the 100 Thieves they were fighting with each other and like throwing tortillas.
Yeah.
Thing.
Well, content's super important. They just partnered with somebody for more content creation. I can't remember, but they're always making moves.
Right.
So this company called Geek, there are 4 avenues that they talk about for implementing brand strategy is like the games that you're picking, the tournaments that you're picking, the teams that you're picking, and the people that you're choosing to sponsor and partner with.
Yeah, well, here they have these steps: entering the esports space, strategy, negotiations, content creators, etc.
Partnerships. And with negotiations, they talk about when you're deciding on a partner, it's good for brands to verify the information that they receive. In the esports industry, they mention that pitch decks from potential esports organizations who are investing in brands are the norm. So it's like not cool anymore to just like attach yourself to an esports brand because it's kind of like becoming old hat. Like nobody is the novelty has worn off.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why content creation and things like that are so important because that's what people want to see. That's what the young audience wants to see. They don't even care if they see your logo on there. That's not going to make them do anything. They want to feel like what you're doing is a part of their lifestyle.
You know, this is also another point out that and I you could always see the positive. I talked positively about the EEG esports, the esports entertainment group just 2 seconds ago. But in this particular section, I see a little bit of an issue that they actually have to go out and make a point in an article that they're trying to give sponsors and brands some kind of reason why they should stick with being with teams and esports teams. And honestly, in my opinion, it's like if you got to go that far and bend over that much to actually and create a whole company that's going to give authenticity or show the return on the investment by setting it up through steps, and discussing this with sponsors and brands and stuff like that. I think it's almost as if we're not there yet. Like esports hasn't reached that point, or maybe the pandemic has knocked it down a few notches.
Why do you think that?
Well, because before the pandemic, we had Louis Vuitton, Toyota, Honda.
Yeah, that was just random stuff.
Yeah, but you know what? When they slap a logo or they put something, Pepsi decides they want to sponsor a football game or a baseball game. They're doing it because the numbers are there. They know that the numbers are there. They're confident enough that the guy who decided to make the deal with the New York Yankees and slapped, Coca-Cola on the back wall as a sponsor, he knows the numbers are there. He knows they're going to get television. They're going to get television exposure, cable exposure, internet exposure, and it's going to be constant. Is esports at that level yet? And honestly, if you have an article that talks about how they have to show and convince sponsors and brands.
I think that's just strategy, though. Like, that's what the company is for. It's like, hey, we know you want to get into esports. This is where you actually fit in the ecosystem.
But is it a strategy to teach them because there's a learning curve and they don't understand esports? Because I can tell you for a fact, and I'm saying that that I agree that there is a learning curve and that the strategy behind that is something that needs to be taught to sponsors because they don't understand esports, not at all.
Yeah.
They're completely blind when they're going into something like this. I actually, no offense, but I did have a conversation with a company called, everyone's heard of it, Gillette. Gillette razors, and I talked to some people young people, younger than yourself, Jen, who just got out of college, that they put in their marketing department. And they're like, well, yeah, we're doing all the esports that we need. We really don't need to do more marketing and branding in esports. We have, 4 different influencers. 2 of them are in South America, and 2 of them are in America. So we've covered all our bases with esports. Now, those influencers, and I went and looked those influencers up. I can't remember their names now, but I did look up those influencers, and they did collectively probably reach about, I don't know, on a consistent basis, 4 to 6 million viewers, maybe in a month or in 2 weeks or something like that.
Okay.
So, but I watched a bunch of their shows, and not any of them really mentioned Gillette, not once. So do they even know what they're getting? Like a big company.
I think they don't. I think that's the point.
Right.
I think they don't know what they're getting. They're just having faith that it's esports and people will care without really thinking about it.
So you're saying that this geek company is going to show them that they're going to get, they're showing them a strategy so that they can, they can be accountable. That's the word I was looking for. So they can show that their brand is accountable in esports.
That's what it seems like, yeah.
So maybe that's what we need. Maybe that's what they need.
I think maybe. It sounded pretty good. That's why I wanted to bring it up. They had good tips and everything too.
But that kind of follows my other point, is that if esports has to show big sponsors how esports is accountable, in other words, how actually choosing to put your brand with an esports influencer or team or etc., and having to prove that it has accountability. That's basically saying that they don't have the confidence in the actual sport itself, or the entertainment itself, that they think they're getting the return on their investment.
I think maybe they just are just disconnected from it. But that's a perfect. I want to bring up the next one, which is from thegamehouse.com.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an article that it's called Why Online Casinos Are Getting into Esports. And they have 4 reasons, and I can go through them. But of course it says the availability of wide range betting markets. So they go on to say that there are plenty of markets for esports betting. By extension, there are also plenty of people. Some of the markets include the match winner, the draw, the correct score, the total rounds, etc. So it's saying like what you can actually bet on, which is like the score and total rounds and things like that.
Right.
Integrating these markets into existing games allows casinos to offer players more games to wager on. With more games comes better opportunities to win, so you may even be lucky to win more here than you would in some regular casino games, because it's like skill-based. And it's saying that players have found it more rewarding to use an online casino as a bookmaker. The reason for this is that they can try out some other casino games. Also, playing online ensures that the people don't get bored of the same routine repeatedly.
Yeah, well, that makes somewhat sensible, I guess. I mean, but you're going to start seeing that more and more. You're going to start seeing more esport and more skill-based games being placed on casino. It's called iGaming or internet gaming websites, because I think that's where it all begins. I mean, myself included. We're trying to build GameCon as a 24-hour, 360, 65-day-a-year event, entertainment hub online, which will house, games where people could play, for money and stuff like that, and introduce those games that are being offered on other websites as, filtered into into the GameCon site as advertising, as sponsoring. So say, hey, click this link and you could go on this site. So almost they call them affiliates in the iGaming world. So we would be like almost an affiliate site where you can click to another site to play, for money. skill-based. But most everything is going to become skill-based eventually.
Yeah, and they talk about the rise of online games. Obviously, it has diverse game options, but the players also like being anonymous as well. So being online has that huge advantage of being anonymous over physical. And they prefer, of course, the more skill-based games, like we said, and you're saying that's kind of popping up more and more. You're going to have that on your GameCon website. They talk about the increase in esports publicity and viewership, saying that it's higher than ever, of course. The highest, most enthusiastic places being Europe, North America, and the Asia Pacific.
Right.
Those are the most gambling. They're the regions with the major gambling centers. And involvement of esports fans in betting action. So pretty much they like that. They like the PvP, like you're already saying too, like they want to play against their friends. They want to play a fighting game and put up some money and skill-based against their friends as well. So the PvP is super intriguing to the younger audience as well.
Well, you're going to see a lot more even immersive experiences on the casino floors. You know, was it 3 years ago? I was at the Game Developers Conference, or maybe 4 years ago, and IGT had a game. I think you were at the CEC when you may have played it. It was a virtual reality game, and it was you could shoot arrows.
I didn't play that.
There was a virtual reality game though, where you like competed against somebody else. You shot arrows at targets to compete against somebody else.
Yeah, it's fun.
And they actually had that game on the floor at the Orleans in Las Vegas. But the problem with it, no, the thing was that the casino did nothing to market it.
Oh, so it's just like another thing on the floor that nobody knew what it was.
Nobody knew about it. It was, you know, they didn't get the word out. That's where something like a GameCon 24/7 site will like bring
acknowledge that and
acknowledge it and saying there's stuff for you to do at a casino. You know, that's one of the reasons why we're developing
especially with this pandemic, like casinos, if they just start setting themselves up for the younger audience now, everybody wants to go out and have fun. So like Atlantic City, Las Vegas, once everything opens up again, if these casinos had a totally renovated floor with like really fun games for the younger audience that really engaged them, they would blow their minds.
Yeah, well, there is a they are doing a lot. Actually, Bally's in Atlantic City, which is now under new ownership, actually signed a deal with a sports betting app that was just new. That Jay Moses was one of the guy from Take-Two Media that came and spoke at my event. I forgot the name of it. His website and his betting site, but also the esports entertainment group was also part of that same deal. And in that deal, Bally's actually bought the sports betting site, and the esports entertainment group was part of that package. So they bought a piece of that, and now they have sports betting and esports betting. But here's the thing. I'm glad they're getting esports betting at Bally's in Atlantic City, but that's just not going to attract everybody. You know, people,
especially if they could do it from their phones.
Especially if they could do it from their phones, but not only that, it's one thing you can. Okay, so congratulations, you've gotten to that point. Esports betting, wonderful. So you go and you're there, and you maybe go out for a drink with your friends, but you want to bet on a Call of Duty or CS:GO event or something like that, or League of Legends or Overwatch, whatever. You go and you bet. Now what? What are you doing then? You're sitting around doing nothing. Okay, what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? So what's Bally's doing that's different? You're back.
Sorry, we are back. But no, here's a console. Go play in a corner for nothing. Like, you're not going to win any money at it. You're just going to do this as for fun. But that's not fun. I mean, you could do that at home.
You could do that at home.
And you could bet on.
When I was running local events, that was my hardest hurdle. Was you could do all of this at home. What's making you come here?
Yeah, exactly. So you need something more. But anyway, that's going to happen. You'll see that more and more. It will start to develop. And I think after the pandemic. But you got to remember, these casinos, they've been actually getting checks from the government, believe it or not.
Oh, that's good. Well, somebody has to, right? If it's not us.
Yeah, no, they don't care about the actual people. They keep the companies in business, and so the companies lay everybody off, and then they write them checks, the government, that says stay in business because we want you to be open again when the pandemic is settled, so you can hire all those people back. So that's kind of what's happening. And then once they hire them back, they probably will start doing more esports stuff. But it just
they
takes
already
time.
were a little bit.
They were it beforehand, but it takes time. I mean, they move very, very slow. Very slow. So
what doesn't anymore? Like everybody's moving at a snail pace.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
Yep. So that brings us to our last article about TSM.
Well, I just had one more. I just thought it was interesting that India, just like everybody else, wants to categorize gambling as esports and gaming.
Wait, they want to categorize esports and gaming?
No, they want gambling to be called categorized as esports and gaming.
So they want video game competitions to be.
They want to be esports and gaming businesses.
Oh, they want to be esports and gaming businesses. Mm-hmm. Well, that's pretty interesting. I don't know. Yeah. What does that mean, though? Let's take a closer look at that.
Well, India, they were just talking about how it has such a negative outlook. People look at it, gambling super negatively in India. They said it specifically because of gambling addiction related deaths, which I thought that was a little dark.
I don't know I think it's Indian gambling. In other words, the Native American. Or no, India has a history of looking down on gambling, and gambling companies have been trying to relabel themselves as real money gaming.
Yeah, this whole article has a really harsh take on it, and they talk about the laws being very gray for gambling there, and that's it. It says esports is different from gaming or iGaming and gambling, as the former is skill-based while the latter are chance-based. So they're saying esports is, but then what about skill-based gambling?
Right.
I just thought it was interesting.
Well, there was a whole. I brought this up before. I attended a big, event at the Consumer Protection Department in Washington D.C., and they had people from Europe and from England there, professors that were arguing the point that video gaming or loot boxes in particular was gambling.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people think it is, but in a lot of people, when you go back to a casino.
Do you think there should be different categories of gambling in that case? Because it is gambling, kind of, but it's like a lower level.
Well, I've always said this. I think
it is gambling.
I think publishers all have the power, and if I always said that they should do that Holy Trinity thing, where they have the game available for up until 18 years old. And then beyond the 18 years old, they have the betting platform, same game, but you can bet on it. And then they have the pro part of it, and it's for the professionals. It's all similar, but there's certain parts of it and certain modifications that are done to the game in those three different ways. Publishers can make a lot of money. Well, that's because I am brilliant. Well, but that's
they should do that.
But
I think they will eventually.
Of course they will, but because it's a great way to make more money and because you know what? How many times are you going to come out with a Call of Duty 8 or a Call of Duty 9 or a Call of Duty 10? At some point, making so many different slight modifications of your game you're going to lose that older crowd that's going to be like, okay, it's the same damn game you've been playing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But if you take that game and you make it a gambling game amongst their peers, I think people are going to be into it.
Like Halo, I know a lot of people who would bet over Halo.
Yeah, but look at Halo. Halo is like it's in the rearview mirror back here. But guess what? If you added gambling to it, it would come back into your front view.
It had a little bit of a resurgence when the Master Chief Collection came out.
Yeah, but since then it's been kind of, and now Fortnite's also dying.
Well, yeah. TSM, obviously the esports org, exiting Fortnite, saying that there's a lack of opportunity for organizations. So what they say about it is, of course, the prize money for Fortnite is increasing by 3 million even this year than it was before, so it's one of the largest prize pools. There's no opportunities for their brand partners or anything like that. They even said at the 2019 Fortnite World Cup, organizations were not even allowed to display their team sponsors on the players' jerseys. So if you're sponsoring these Fortnite players, if you're at an official Fortnite tournament, they don't let you have sponsors on your jerseys.
What?
Which doesn't make sense. So they're saying that the TSM president said that Epic Games' lack of communication, posting that perhaps the company simply doesn't believe in esports as more than a marketing tool for the game itself. So TSM is saying that Epic is using Fortnite esports as a marketing tool just for the game.
Well, why wouldn't they?
Yeah, why wouldn't they? Everybody's using esports as a marketing tool, even education, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of, like, you know, that's what attracts the crowd. But I mean,
but it's dying. It is becoming more of like a communication hub between like young people. It's more of like a community hangout.
Right. Do you think that, though, Fortnite lost a lot of its luster because of the lawsuit with Apple?
Nah, not at all.
No?
No.
Well,
I think Fortnite is just, I think people still play it. I think it's pretty young. I think the events and the fact that it's always changing keeps some people. But as a competitive sport, it's kind of on the decline.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I gotta say I never thought it was a lot of fun. Although there is a really great game I'm playing now. It's called Diabolical, which
That's
is
cute.
It's an indie game, but it's indie first-person shooter game. It's like robots shooting each other. But it's a lot of fun. People should check it out. Actually,
What's it called?
Diabolical.
Diabolical.
Actually, the brother of the developer. You actually met him, I think.
Really?
Remember William Harding?
Yeah.
His brother John Harding is the one that created Diabolical.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
that's pretty cool. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah. It's a good game. Download it. Fun. Anyway, till 2 weeks from now. We'll see you then.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.